Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening all. I'm going to share with you on how actually HRM is managed when an organization or any company extend or expand their branch to overseas. This is today's lecture is on how an organization is managing the staff when they are sending their staff abroad. So first, before we proceed with the technical terms, technical issues and challenges, and also the solution on how to improve the management of human resource management, I would like to define three important terms relating to human resource management when we do it globally. The first one is home and host. So what is home? What is host? When an organization, for example, Malaysian organization, business, they want to expand their business to China, for example, okay, to China. So Malaysian companies going to China, they open the company in China, another company in China. So Malaysian is termed as home countries, and host is China. Very straightforward. So when employees in China are from Malaysian, they are actually home national. Yeah, and Chinese in China, they are called host national. So this is the basic term on how we define the difference between home and host. So host countries is China, home country is Malaysia if the business originally from Malaysia. And what is third country national? Third country national, for example, an Indonesian working in Malaysia for particular any organization in Malaysia, in Indonesian, and this Indonesian is sent abroad to China, for example. So when this Indonesian working for Malaysian company sent abroad, they are called the third country national. The third country national. So usually the big corporation, they have this type of human resource in their organization, the third country national, especially corporation dealing with, especially big corporation, for example, Intel, Microsoft, and so on. Basically, they have third country national. And what is expatriate? Expatriate is when you are working in an organization in Malaysia, and then you are sent abroad. While living there, while working there, you are called expatriate. Yeah. So meaning the basic term definition for expatriate is somebody who are not originally from the host country, working in the host country. Remember, host country is the country where a particular organization expand their branch to abroad. Yeah. So it's the basic terms that you need to understand when you learn or you involved in the management of organization abroad your country. Yeah. So in managing this global human resource successfully, there are some approaches. Yeah, there are some approaches in managing this global human resource management. The first one is what we call ethnocentric. Ethnocentric means when the parent company is the home countries, yeah? Parent companies are opening their branch overseas, abroad, and it seems that all the managerial level, all the key position open in abroad is fill up with the home country national. So in our example, when Malaysia company open their branch in China, the key position most of them are from Malaysia. So this is the kind of ethnocentrism approach. Okay, there are pros and there are cons, there are advantages and there are disadvantages of using this approach. Yeah? The second approach is polycentric. Polycentric is an organization in which they open their branch abroad, but the branch abroad or the subsidiary is filled up, the key position is filled up by the host national. For example, Malaysia open their organization company and they expand their subsidiary abroad, and all the key position abroad are filled up by the Chinese in China. So this is what we call polycentric. However, still in the home countries, filled up by the home national Malaysian lah. So this is what we call polycentric. Of course, there are also some advantages and some disadvantages using this polycentric business approach. The third approach is geocentric. Geocentric, if we compare to ethnocentric and polycentric, it has more advantages. It has more pros than cons. However, the only problem with geocentric, it is too expensive to operate. Yeah, this is the approach whereby the home national, the home country, did not based on home or host national employees. This is the approach in which an organization is based on the talent. Okay, if they found that their branch in China, the managers, the Chinese from China are more talented, then they will appoint the Chinese in China as the managers. Not necessarily the manager is from Malaysia. Similar like in the HQ, headquarters. If the headquarters is in Malaysia, okay, by the way, this is the map of Sabah. I'm using the map of Sabah. So, disregard of whether they are from home countries or host countries, in fact, in Malaysia, they might also fill up the key position in the SQ with the Chinese national. Yeah? So this is what we call geocentric approach. So as I said before, out of these three approaches, they have their own pros and they have their own cons. So for example, in ethnocentric, what is the cons? Pros, what is the cons? Yeah. So for example, in ethnocentric, it could produce a resentment. Resentment means dissatisfaction from host national, because all key position seems to be dominated by home nation. So it might cause resentment in which the host country's employees might not be happy. So if the employees are not happy, the productivity will be affected. So basically, ethnocentric has its has cons more than pro actually. Yeah? And but one of the pro advantage of ethnocentric is the company can disseminate the corporate culture. Because it is built in Malaysia, it is established in Malaysia, so the corporate culture can be easily transferred to the branch in China. So this is one of the pro. However, it produced the resentment among the local employees. And one thing is that the disadvantage of ethnocentric, it can cause what we call cultural myopia. Cultural myopia means it is actually a status quo. A status quo in which there is a tendency of don't want a change to occur in particular organization. As a result, there is no growth of thought. They will not keep current on the current technology or current practice because of the cultural, what we call cultural myopia. This is the disadvantage of ethnocentric, because as you can see, when we bring the managers from home nation to the host nation, so meaning to say the corporate culture is still the same. So most probably, unfortunately, in the future, there is no added value to the company because they are practicing cultural myopia, and they feel better by having the same corporate cultures. Okay, so this is the disadvantage or cons of ethnocentric. Meanwhile, for polycentric, the problem is that when the host country, we are referring to the example that I use, in which the organization is established in Malaysia and it has subsidiary in China. Yeah? So Malaysia is the home nation, China is the host nation. So for polycentric, the problem is that there might be a problem in transferring the values of the organization, because when we have host national to be the key frontliner or the managers in the subsidiaries, it's going to be very difficult to practice what has been practiced so far by the company. Okay, so this is the only disadvantage. But when we refer just now to ethnocentric, it seems to be disadvantage. So basically, ethno and poly go against each other. Yeah, the idea is go against each other. And the problem with the polycentric as well is that when we have managers in overseas, managers in overseas who did not understand well how the business was brought up to the stage, they might have a lack of sense of belonging. Okay, sense of belonging, because they don't understand the root, the foundation of the establishment of the company, in which management have to spend some expenses to ensure that the new managers appointed from the host national understand well how the corporation is running. Yeah, so this is one of the other problem with polycentric. And for geocentric, as I said earlier, it is actually I'm not saying geocentric is the best approach. Yeah, it depends on how big is the corporation, how big is the organization. For small companies, but of course, when we talk about global business, yeah, it always being a big business, a big corporation. Rarely we have small or moderate corporation when we talk about global human resource. But what differentiate between this organization is how successful they are doing their business in the local, in the home national. Because of that, they go abroad. So it is very difficult on which approach need to be chosen by a corporation. Yeah, it depends on the product that you are producing, you are selling, and it depends on the marketing approach, marketing areas. Okay, marketing areas that you need to cover. So by understanding these two, the product that you are selling, how important it is to the customer or the client abroad, and the other one, so it helps you to choose which out of the three is the best approaches. Yeah, so it depends. It depends. None of the approach fits all the size. Yeah? All the size. And in every establishment of business, of course, there are challenges, issues, and challenges. I always point out three things in any case. The first is approach, the second is issues and challenges, and the third one, later on, I will show you solution. So when we have this, when we manage SRM globally, we have one issues which I term 3 C's. C's for, first one is for culture. Okay, there is always a stumbling block for any employee managers sent abroad to get to adapt well with, of course, the culture. Because once you understand the cultures, your daily activities are going to be very smooth. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So learning the cultures is one of the, so culture is one of the issues and challenges. The other one is the communication. Okay, communication here refer to, of course, your language skill. Not only we communicate with people with verbal language, we also communicate with people with non-verbal communication or body language, facial expression, gesture, and so on. So this is the second issue, which is communication. So basically, when we want to send managers abroad, we need to prepare them on these communication skills. Yeah, as I said, communication is not about language or verbal or written. Communication is about understanding the non-verbal communication, yeah, body language, facial expression, gesture, and so on. And the third C is the chemistry. Okay, culture, communication, and chemistry. More or less, chemistry is about how engaged you are with the colleagues at the host nation, host employees. How engaged you are with them, and of course, how engaged you are with the customers in the host nation. Yeah? So one of the issues and challenges is the three C's: culture, communication, and chemistry. Until you are able to, to practice well or understand well these three C's, then the managers, you as the manager task is going to be easier. Yeah, it's going to be easy. Once you feel complacent enough, then you can ensure the productivity of the branch or subsidiary. And the second issues and challenges is family inability to adjust when they are going with their, the managers, their spouse. When I said family, it is about their bringing along their spouse, their wife or the husband, either one. So, and also bring their children abroad. So it is common that when anybody, especially parent, yeah, when we are working at office or in our organization, we always, think of the life of our spouse as well. So basically, one of the challenges is the family inability to adjust well in the host country. So these two are the common issues and challenges faced by global SRM. There are many challenges actually, but I just want to point out to these two major issues and challenges. Yeah, one is the three C's: culture, communication, and chemistry. The second one is the family inability to adjust in the foreign country, in the host country. And these two major elements will actually determine how long a particular an employees will stay in the foreign or in the host country. So these two actually play a big role in determining the attrition rate of those being sent abroad, yeah, the expatriate. That's why we being discussed in many papers that most of the expatriate, they are not sent for expected duration of time. Most of them request to leave the country, going back to their home, the HQ, earlier than they are supposed to stay in the host nation. Yeah. So these are the two reasons why. The two reasons why the attrition rate of expatriate is higher. So how to solve these issues and challenges? There are some approach. One is any organization dealing with global business, they must have a section, a department in the organization in the home country, yeah, as expatriate manager. I read many articles, some books I refer to. It seems that when a corporation or a business want to expand abroad, they must have this position, expatriate manager, or call it whatever terms. But a particular officer who is in charge of managing the expat, expatriate. And this managers is based on the SQ at the national home countries. Otherwise, it's going to the sending abroad of key managers to oversee might face failure if they don't have expatriate department or expatriate manager or whatever the term you want to use. But somebody need to be taking care of sending officer abroad, because the minute you send the key managers, usually when we send managers abroad, we are sending the best manager. Rarely organization send an incompetent manager. They are sending the best manager, because these managers has a duty, a responsibility to make sure that the establishment in international, in global, in host countries is going to be successful in terms of productivity. So they are sending the best person of the company. So sending the best person to the host nation is going to cause, I'm not saying loss to the home to the SQ or the home organization, but it is like a lagged development, because the best manager is sending abroad. And if this best managers sending abroad fail in getting fit with the global environment, and they want to return home, it's already incurred some loss. Incur some loss in terms of the expenses being spent, in terms of the time being used to send the managers over there. So we need to have expatriate managers. In addition to that, the selection should be or must be very rigid. The selection. So this selection, there are some ways. Later in the slide, I show you what are the selection process, because we don't want to send somebody who are going to return very soon. If we send somebody who are going to return very soon, that is already incurred loss to the corporation. So this is the solution. So expatriate manager will arrange the program, some of the program, for example, language training, technique practical training. Later in the slide, I will show you. And selection is, we do the selection to choose those who are fit to our projection or expectation if they are sent abroad. Okay, in this slide, so basically the previous slide is actually telling you all what actually I want to share with you all tonight. So the rest of the slide is just to support the previous slide. For example, we already talked about expatriate, who are expatriate indirectly, directly. I already mentioned that expatriate, when we send somebody from home country to the host country, so they are called expatriate. And local, of course, when we send Malaysian to China, the locals are the Chinese in China. And these Chinese in China, if they are appointed as the managers, they are managers from host countries. And based on the approaches, we have ethnocentric, polycentric. For ethnocentric, most of the key managers in the host countries still from the original country. But for polycentric, managers are from the host countries. So indirectly, I explained this in previous slide. And third country as well. So these are things that global managers have to understand very well. In order for them to serve the branch or the subsidiary successfully, they have to know the cultural. Indirectly, I already mentioned before, labor relation, how actually the labor relation is worked internationally in the particular host country. It differs from our labor relation in Malaysia. Economic, what types of economic they are practicing in host countries. So these are things that the managers need to understand when they are sent abroad. Yeah, they need to also the legal, what acts constitute legal, what acts constitute illegal, because of the diversities different from home countries. In the host country, diversity is treated differently. For example, how they react on gender equality. For example, sometimes in host countries they have different way of seeing legal, yeah, and of course political, yeah. Political is one of the key factors that key managers who are sent abroad, the expatriate manager, need to understand well to survive in that particular countries. There is a cultural dimension theory, produced by Hofstede. So Hofstede has produced a study that use some factors in order to ensure anybody can survive, or I'm not saying survive, but can do well in a foreign countries. Yeah, these studies determines what are the right values and attitudes to comply with. There are five cultural differences by Hofstede: power distance, individualism versus collectivism, long-term orientation, uncertainty avoidance, masculinity, and femininity. For example, power distance in Malaysia, they are more, the power distance in Malaysia is strictly followed. But to other countries, the power distance is not strictly followed. So this is example lah. And then in Malaysia, collectivism is higher. For example, in China, I don't know whether individualism or collectivism is obvious. Yeah. So basically, all these Hofstede cultural differences need to be understood well by the key managers or the key employees when they are sent abroad. All right. I'm not going to detail to this, but you can refer back to any sources about these cultural differences. Yeah. And then this one, as I said, the economic system is different. Market economies, planned economies, mixed economies. So managers have to understand the economic, understand the economy, how economy is practiced in different countries, especially to the host country. Yeah. I also mentioned about ethnocentric, polycentric, global company indirectly, expat versus locals, and offshoring. Usually we have third country employees, usually third countries employees. And then these are the screening process. These are the selection process that I mentioned earlier, in which, in order to choose the right employees, the right managers, they have to, to go through these selection things. Realistic previews, for example, we test, we evaluate particular employees or managers who are going to be sent abroad, how adept they are in a particular given situation. So this is realistic previews. So adaptability screening, more or less similar. So they are given the case, how they are going to, to solve that case, how they are going to react, what is their attitudes and behavior. Testing is simple, form basis. Legal issues, of course, they are understanding on the legal, on the right in the foreign country. So basically, these are the methods used in the selection process. Organization need to follow this strict list in order for them to avoid higher attrition rate among the expatriate working abroad. So usually, some of the failure sending expatriate because of family challenges. It's very difficult if you are happy with your work internationally, but when you return home, your spouse is not not really not enjoy the staying because of many challenges in the new environment. So that's why when companies, especially I stress on the expatriate managers, when they're sending managers abroad, they must think of giving training not only to the employees but also to the family as well. Yeah, because the family will determine the success of the employees in overseas. Yeah, so that's why when organization giving training, they need to include the family member, especially the spouse. Not need the children lah, especially the spouse, because it is common. It is common. The spouse is actually part of the reason for a success in individual endeavor. Yeah. So this thing need to be considered by the management. So some practical solution. Okay, this one already mentioned lah just now. Provide realistic review. Shorten the length of the assignment. Maybe they can adjust the temporary relocation of the employees. No need to transfer the key managers for more than 4 years. Maybe for 1 year lah, like that, or 2 years. I don't know. But what is the best is depend on the organization itself. We cannot say 1 or 2 years. It depends. But the key point is sending for short term is better than for long term. One thing is that short term, it will motivate the employees, because they are not going to send in particular countries for long time. Maybe they like being sent abroad just to gain experience, to enhance their value. So once they return home, their CV is very good. Being operating abroad subsidiary, for example. So this is one of the solution for corporation, not to send their employees for long-term basis. Short-term is advisable. Internet-based, this is how you cope up. Nowadays, we have so many videos, even when we travel overseas. When we travel overseas, last time we are afraid of how actually we are going to handle our traveling, because we don't have the video, the YouTube to watch. But nowadays there are many YouTube, there are many videos which make our traveling easier. So similar like sending employees abroad, having the video in the YouTube, they can learn by watching the video. Form global buddy program, this is the approach. I don't know how they practice this one. Use executive coaches to mentor and work with. So this is based on those senior employees who already being sent abroad, return home, and they do the mentoring to the potential managers who are yet to do the oversee responsibility task. Yeah. This is actually similar like conducting the training lah, pre-departure training, language training, practical training, and so on. Ongoing training, ethics and code of conduct. This is more on the how good you are in reading the culture, reading the new way of living in foreign nation. Yeah? Performance appraisal, this one is applied by the management when they want to do the screening test for the right employees to be sent. Yeah? Compensating, this is on, of course, when managers, I'm referring to managers because most of the time managers are the one who send abroad. Yeah, managers. Rarely rarely the organization send lower level of workers, lower than managers. Most of the employees who are sent abroad are managers and abroad. Of course, we need to increase their salary, their allowance, and so on, because of the hardship living in the foreign countries. Yeah. Training and maintaining employee abroad. Okay, this is just kidnapping and ransom. This is all things that need to be prepared by the corporation or organization. Repatriation, problem and what is this one? Problem and solution. Okay. So the key ideas is repatriation. Repatriation means you are sending somebody to work abroad. We call it expatriate. And if this expatriate work less than duration expected, they will ask for going back to the home country. So this is what we call repatriation, because we need to send another new employee. So basically, this is a big cost to the organization. Yeah? So we need to avoid the repatriation. One, we send expatriate, their request coming home, and then we send new ones. This is repatriation. So these are some of the steps, facts that we need to understand about repatriation. So that is the end of our lecture for tonight. Yeah, very fast. Very fast from what time already? 7:45. In 45 minutes, I completed what I need to share with you on the managing human resource globally. Yeah. So if you have any question to ask, because I already reached the end of my slide. Okay, let me stop. Thank you very much. That's all. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Right.
Thank you, Doctor.
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 Right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.